All right, you sales junkies. So today we've got over an hour of sales coaching from my low ticket community and one-on-one clients. So the first part of this video is basically breaking down a discovery on a live sales call, and we talk about what makes a good script versus a bad script. Then we go into post-price theory, so how to get deals closed from a theoretical understanding. And then to wrap it all up, we've got pure objection handling role play, so you guys can learn, understand, and know what to do at every single part of your sales calls, so you can close more deals and obviously make a lot more money. So hope you guys enjoy this one, and yeah, we'll dive in. Give me a bit more context. So you get on a call with this guy. How did you book this call?
So I cold called him. He's a roofer in Chicago. I cold called him. He said he was interested, so we scheduled a meeting. This was it. It went bad, but it went good enough to schedule a second call to where I was able to
Okay.
close him.
Okay, beautiful. Awesome. No, that's sweet. I guess like in general, are you kind of
How are
trying
you?
to close on the first call? Is that like your intention? Or
No, I was really trying to see where I could help him and if I could actually help him. And then once
Mhm.
I found out I could, I was aiming towards closing the call, but that wasn't the case.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's a good attitude. Always like come with that sort of like looking to help kind of attitude. Alessandro, how are you, man? Nice to meet you.
Hey guys, all good.
Or just give me a bit of context really quickly, man. Like what business do you run so I can understand we can do some stuff after.
Yeah, I have a marketing agency in Italy,
Mhm.
working with real estate agencies.
Okay, cool. Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. So we're just going to go through this call. We're going to basically focus on discovery for now, and then we'll jump into some role play. So let's get in.
Perfect.
I'm doing pretty good today. How are you?
Oh, it's
Cool. First thing is, do you leave your camera off the whole time?
Yeah, yeah. The second call I had my camera on. This call
Yeah,
I did
cool.
not.
Yeah, cool. So camera's always on. So I mean, like you're a handsome guy, you got a nice setup, like definitely camera on. Um, it's just yeah, it just creates a little bit of like weird tension if they have theirs on, vice versa.
on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday, yeah. How's your Labor Day weekend been?
You guys can hear that though, right? Cool.
I can hear it, yeah.
Good. We had two great car shows to go to. One Sunday, and one really big one yesterday.
Nice. That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, glad you had a good weekend. I'm just gonna start this call off by saying that I appreciate you for jumping on and taking the time, just so that we're on the same page. Perfect. Also, apologize my camera isn't working.
Where did you just sorry, just I know I keep pausing, but in terms of the camera off and like saying it's not working, where did you get that from? Is that like in anywhere specifically, or is that just intuitive to you?
I heard that camera off is sometimes better, so this was the one call I tried it on, and
Hmm.
I'm never doing it again. But it was
Yeah,
just
so
awkward at the start.
yeah, where did you hear that just out of curiosity?
Easy grow.
Yeah, cool. So I closed for Easy Grow for 2 years, right? I was one of like the longest serving reps at Easy Grow. I don't know why Charlie, like I'm like good friends with Charlie. I don't know why he hasn't fucking changed this, but at Easy Grow, we have cameras on. So this whole
You're
camera
right.
off about building pain doesn't work. Just I promise I did the camera off thing for like 6 months when I first got there, and then we got a different sales manager in and we changed the process. But anyway, I knew that's where you got it from. I could tell straight away from
Yeah.
this exact sentence because I've said this sentence myself. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work. So cool. Very first thing, top of the call, like so yeah, cameras on and we need to be controlling the call straight away. So it's like,
Okay.
hey James, like nice to meet you. Where about you calling me from? Awesome. Look, man, I just if it's all right with you, I think we should just dive in and get started just to kind of see where you're at, just straight into it. You know, they're business owners, you're a business owner, very professional. Just want to ask you some questions about your business, kind of make sure that we can actually help you. You know, the more information you can give me, man, kind of the better I'll be able to customize my solution. Awesome. Straight, sound good. Yep, straight into the first question. Right? It's just like having that like authority straight off the bat is where I want to
All
go.
right. Anyways, let's get started. So, Jim, can you tell me what motivated you to put time aside and actually take this call with me today?
Um, just trying to find different ways to generate leads that are not just a lukewarm lead, but a real qualified person who wants to buy a roof.
Okay. Okay. And when you say that, what do you mean exactly? Like, what does a real qualified person look like to you?
Somebody that actually wants to spend money and not just tire kick to find out what a roof's gonna cost.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So they need to be able to afford the project and not just going out for the cheapest price. They want a quality job, they need to come to me.
All right. Okay, and out of all of your services, what would you want to sell the most of?
Roofing.
Okay, so you're just using the Easy Grow script, right? The old one? Yeah, cool. So yeah, cool. I'm gonna send you a better script. But basically, like, right, so this whole like okay, then ask the next question. We want to kind of get rid of that as well. So basically, it's just like it needs to be a bit more of a conversation. And like this question, like what service do you want to be selling the most of? It just like doesn't really make sense, right? He sells roofs, right? So
Right, yeah.
we just want to sort of try and contextualize our questions better. So what we actually do, hold on, let me just try and find this for you. Fuck, I don't even know what it is. All right, cool. So basically, it's kind of the same idea. We've got current situation, problem, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, cool, James. So I know you kind of came in off that cold call, right, regarding getting more leads for your business, right? Boom, straight into the process. Awesome. I guess like for you, what did you kind of hear or what kind of, stood out to you that made you want to look into this further? So he's going to say something about the AI, whatever, like something that you said on that cold call that piqued his interest. We're just trying to gain intent. How long you been running the business for? What does an ideal qualified lead look like for you? What's your growth target in 6 months and how much you're making? That's all the current situation that we need to know. Because then from there, we can go into problem a lot quicker, right? Because it's just most important that we get into problem as quick as possible because no problem, no solution, right? So just everyone can have this. I know Danny and the boys already have this. But you guys I'll just put it in the chat. So yeah, just have a look at that script. Basically, just so you guys can understand this thing in italics. So when you ask the problem question, they're going to give you one of 3 answers: not getting enough leads, bad quality leads, or not doing anything at all. So if they say one of those answers, you just follow these questions, right? And then you would move on to favorable cause. You don't have to like go through all of these questions. Cool. I know that sounds a bit ridiculous, but I had a one-on-one client who did that once and it was a fucking nightmare. So let's get back into this.
And whenever a potential job comes in, a potential roof replacement, what's your current process for getting them on the calendar for an estimate? And what's the biggest point of friction in that whole process?
I get a lot of leads and the people don't even bother to call you back after me calling them multiple times.
Okay.
Cool. So with this question here, I mean, so whenever you get a potential job, what's your current process and what's the biggest point of friction? That we need to ask one question at a time, right? So we want to break this down and it's in the scripts. Like, so current process, right? That's question 1. Then the second question is, the friction question. Because really, we want him to answer this question, right? But a lot of the time, the prospect is going to default to answering the easiest question. They're going to avoid the harder question. So we always want to ask one question at a time, be very specific. So if we look at this script, for example, it's like, cool, so so we ask the problem question. I know we're talking about lead gen, but I guess like what aspects of getting leads is holding you back from hitting the goal we just said? And then he's like, I'm not getting enough leads. Cool. What's your current strategy? How many leads you get in the last 30 days? Are you kind of like happy with that? No. How many do you want? So now we've done like, in a sales process, you've got like where they're at, where they want to get to, and you're trying to bridge the gap. So we're doing a mini version of this. So X appointments, Y appointments. This is like contextualizing our next question, which is, what about your current strategy is holding you back from getting the leads that you want? So if they're doing word of mouth, we want them to say, oh, like I just can't get more word of mouth. Right? Because that's admitting the problem. And then this is like the questions that are dotted in, like this question I should probably put in brackets, but this is like a only ask if it makes sense kind of question if they don't tell us. But if he's like, I just can't get more referrals, we can then ask, well, I guess like, why do you feel like you can't get more referrals? And he will say, Oh, well, because like I don't have control of who actually sends me a referral. Awesome. So now he's admitted the problem and he's also admitted he doesn't have control over changing the outcome of that thing. So we've basically looked for, and just stop me if I'm going too fast, but we look for the symptom, right? We fish for the symptom. That's the easy thing to get, not enough leads. What we really want is the cause. This is where you make heaps of money. Because what you guys sell is a solution to fix that. So that's what we need, the cause of the problem. Okay? Sweet.
And are you saying the goal is to get him to admit the cause or us to find the cause?
Well, I mean, like you kind of have to, yeah, you're using your questions to find the cause and then get him to say it.
Okay.
So you never want to you want to avoid putting words in their mouth, being like, oh, okay, so if we take the word of mouth example, if he said, oh, I'm just only doing word of mouth, you want to avoid saying, oh, so do you not control the amount of referrals that you get? You want to ask him, what about word of mouth isn't allowing you to get more leads? And then he will admit the cause.
It's a good way of framing it.
Cool. I mean, I'd hope so. I've been doing this for fucking long enough. I hope so.
So like, where do these leads usually come in from? Are you getting them from referrals or where from?
Some are from my own landing pages, some are from Thumbtack, and some are from, what's the other one? Networks.
Networks, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty big in the area. The thing is they have like all shared leads. But
So exactly dude, don't worry. This is the feeling that you have right now of getting a sales call reviewed and you feel uncomfortable. Trust me, I've been there. Imagine having your sales calls reviewed in front of like 15 other elite closers and Charlie and Bo. It's fucking brutal, right? But this is why we do
Yeah.
it. So yeah, so basically like exactly what I just said is, so we want him to admit the share lead things, right? So Thumbtack, a lot of you guys are going to be dealing with businesses that buy leads. Okay. So when we talk about buying leads and we're talking about like the quality, so if we come back to the script and he said, what did he say? Get a lot of leads, but people don't even bother to call you back. So that's bad quality, right? So the question is there anything specifically about your process, or you could say Thumbtack, is there anything specifically about Thumbtack that you think is kind of causing this lack of quality? And he would say they're shared, everyone has access to them, they're low intent. So now we have the cause, right? So I just kind of lost the spot. Yeah, here we go. Cool. So yeah, making sense?
Definitely.
networks, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty big in the area. Do you know roughly the ballpark of that?
I know what each lead costs. I don't know, there's an aggregate for it. It's probably costing me around $500 for every one of those for every one of those calls I get. It probably cost me about $500 to actually get a client who wants us to actually quote something.
Okay, so you're saying for a real qualified estimate and
Cool. So I don't know if you guys heard that, but he was just about to say that is really high.
It probably cost me about $500 to actually get a client who wants us to actually quote something.
okay, so you're saying for a real qualified estimate.
Or he said that's bad, right? So, and again, this is where active listening is so fucking important. You need to listen to these people like crazy. So I would have asked here, let's just say everything else is the same. I'd have been like, is that high? Is it, I mean, I guess I would have just asked, like, how do you feel about that? Probably, but you're trying to get, it's like, is that kind of normal or is that higher than you would like? And he would say, yeah, it's way higher than I want. Right. And it's just coming back to now what we're doing is creating pain around the cause. So we find it and then we like twist a knife into it, basically.
Just
Cool.
to get the opportunity, and then it's probably $1,000 a lead for ones that actually want to buy something.
Okay, so $1,000 per close. Okay, and if you don't mind me asking, how much money are you making per month?
Cool. So this question is in the wrong spot. So basically, like, because like you're kind of like, man, it's been a while since I've used this script, but basically, like, so when we're talking about numbers, right? And I know it seems a little bit aggressive, I guess. I mean, I don't want to make an assumption, but some people have like a bit of a weird feeling around like asking these questions at the top of the call. I promise you, no business owner, or like very, very few business owners. I know, Danny, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but if you ask it with confidence, like business owners will tell you, right? Because they live, they breathe revenue. Like that's all they think about, that's all they talk about. So I personally ask, what are you making first? Just because I guess why not? And I've just done it for a long time. But to kind of make it like a little bit easier, it's like, cool. So where do you want to get to in the next 6 months? And just so I can understand the size of the gap that we might need to help you overcome, what are you making right now? So it's like we've put them in the future and then we've like asked where they are now so that we can, it almost seems like we're not trying to, it just doesn't feel like we're trying to sell them. We're trying to actually understand the size of the business. So you can use verbiage to like sort of ease the seriousness of the question. I don't really know how to word that. But basically, we want to ask it before problem, because the biggest problem isn't like that this guy isn't making enough money, right? So he's at 1 million a year and he wants to get to 1.5, right? The problem is like his perceived problem is leads, right? But the real problem is that he doesn't know how to fix it. So what we're really looking for is a knowledge gap. That's like ultimately what we're looking for. We're looking for the prospect to basically say, like, I don't know how to fix this, because if they knew how to do it, they wouldn't be on the call with you. And also, if they didn't want to get to this goal, the leads wouldn't be a problem. So we need to frame the problem question in terms of the gap, which is why it's written like, I know we're talking about lead gen, but I guess like what aspect of getting leads is holding you back from hitting 1.5 million? Because if I just ask someone like, what's your biggest problem? And they're like, oh, it's all right, but leads are, a little bit slow, right? That's what their problem is at $1 million. But if I'm like, what's your biggest problem from getting to 1.5? They're going to be like, oh, bro, like we have a quarter of the leads we need to get there. So a much bigger problem. So the bigger the problem that you can create, the more chance we have of closing that call. Cool. By the way, Oscar, I really appreciate you sharing this call because it makes it a lot easier to actually like teach the stuff. And I know it's a little bit uncomfortable. So thank you for that. Okay, beautiful.
$1 million this year. Okay, and what's the 12-month goal? What would you?
Sorry, before I carry on, does anyone have any questions on this so far? No? Anyone? No? Yes, Alessandro. You can just shout out if you want, man. That's okay. But what's up?
Okay, perfect. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. So when you're asking how much is making, for example, in my case, I'm real estate niche. So
Cool.
I
Yeah, we talk about
usually,
listings. Yeah. So
yeah,
I know the exact question you're going to ask. I've worked with so many people in that niche. So yes, you want to basically ask that question in context to the niche. So for real estate agents, it's going to be listings, right?
all right.
I think if I was in the real estate niche right now, would I ask money? Maybe. I would probably ask listings first and then double down on like what that means monetarily. Because like when you're asking like a desired based question, it's like, oh, getting 6 listings, what would that do for you personally? They're going to be like, oh, I just have more work. Whereas if I'm like making an extra 50K a month, what would that do for you? It's like, oh, it's a lot more. So how experienced are you? Like how long have you been in the agency space for?
So a bit. I've restarted recently. I had an agency with a couple clients one year ago, but I restarted recently. I only work in Italy, that's why you can hear my accent.
Yeah.
I don't work with English clients. So I've done about 8 sales calls in the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
So it's not going too great. The problem right now I'm facing mostly is that everyone is been burned before. So
yeah.
by
Okay.
someone with that provided like Facebook ads,
Yeah.
and no matter how I pitch it, it always seems like the same service. So I always get the objection like, yeah, but how is this different from what I've already tried that didn't work? Why should I
Okay.
go with you? You know?
Beautiful. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to come back to that. We're going to spend at least 20 minutes at the end
No
just
worries.
working on burnt in the past, because I can show you how to get over that. So just to answer your first question though, I'd say for now, yes, just do listings or whatever. So like, let's say
Yeah.
they're doing 2 listings a month and they want to get to 6, that's fine. You know, just use that instead of revenue targets, but the same principles apply. What's the biggest problem holding you back from getting 6 listings a month? Right? So you
Yeah.
just tweak that script just for
I
that
mean,
part.
what I do is I found that just asking for the price, I got a lot of resistance, like how much they were making. So what I do is I ask how many listings, and then like the commission they get and
Yeah.
the average sales price and their
Sure.
objective, and I
Yeah.
can work out the number and
Yeah.
go
So
straight to it.
yeah, I think, yeah, that's fine. I would say like, yeah, cool. No, that's fine. I would just do it like that. That you can figure out plenty of stuff from there. That's cool. Awesome. So let's just keep going with
You
this.
expect to be doing next year around this time?
million and a half or more.
Cool. Just a really small thing. What do you expect to be doing? We want to say like, what do you want to be doing? Because expect means like he's already going to hit that. So
Right.
you know what I mean? It's like, well, I guess like, you know, what do you want to be making? Just changing that verbiage a little bit.
That's a good goal. And so what's the main motivation for like getting to 1.5 million per year with Greater Chicago Roofing?
It's just a nice profitability zone over $1 million to 3 million is a really good profitability situation for the business.
Yeah. Do you usually see like what's the profit margins with that? Around 20%?
Closer to 35 to 40%.
Interesting. When you ask this question, like, did you actually think it was 20%, or like, are you just asking that to do something? I'm just curious.
I genuinely didn't know.
No, that's okay. That's fine. No, that's fine. I thought maybe because sometimes Charlie would teach like, you know, you ask a question in a way that's like, you know, how many appointments are you getting per day? And they're like, oh my God, a day, I'm getting them a month. It's like just stuff like that, but that's fine. So, I would maybe just say like, and cool, like, I guess like what kind of profit margins are you dealing with? To be honest though, like asking it like that actually worked kind of well because he had a bit of a laugh, which breaking tension in the call is actually good. And then he's given you a better answer. So it actually kind of served you, which is fine. I think this is where it's going to maybe start to go a little bit haywire, though.
Nice. Okay. And how would the business change if you actually got to $3 million a year?
I've been there before, 3 million. No, it's good cash
Oh, really?
flow and it's good. It's a smooth running business around that mark.
Yeah. So whenever you got there before, like around what time was that? Like how many years or months ago was that?
2019, there was a hailstorm that came through the whole area. And there was a lot of low hanging fruit there.
Nice. Hailstorms are where it's at. I'm in Oklahoma, man. We get those all the time. So getting to $3 million a year, would that have any impact on like other areas of your life, or would you continue living, comfortably how you are?
No, that's a good point for me to be at. Make some good money those years.
Yeah. Okay. So, Jim, you're currently making around $1 million a year, and you want to get to $3 million a year. Is there anything? So tell me, what's stopping you from doing this on your own right now?
Right clientele.
Okay, you just
Yeah, cool. Because now we're just like, because it's all sort of done backwards, he's already given, like, people want to give you the problem at the top of the call because they're fucking on the call to solve that problem. So, like, now you're into problem now, 7 minutes into the call, but he's like, I already told you what the problem is. You know what I mean? So that's where it's going to feel like, maybe starting to feel like that like the tension's going up or that you're repeating yourself. It's because you kind of are, but that's just
Right.
a product of the script, not necessarily your ability or anything like that. So this is why basically we chunk it down into these parts. So we've got current situation where we get everything we need to know for the rest of the call to flow. Then we go through problem, favorable cause. It's a little bit hard to explain right now, but basically it's like, okay, you really need to ask this question with a very curious tone. So basically it's like, I guess, man, like, could it be just because you like kind of don't have that like advanced marketing strategy that generates and sort of qualifies those leads for you, which would be kind of causing these tire kickers, right? There's two ways to do it at EasyGrow. We did it as problem summary. Basically, you're just trying to get them to agree on the thing you just diagnosed, the problem. Okay. Then we go to impact a problem, right? Then we go to trigger point, which is like, what was the turning point that made you think you want to get advanced outside help? Then we go into this sort of outside, have you used outside help before? Which, Alessandro, this is going to kind of tie into what I want to talk about before. So, I don't want to get too, like, I don't want to dump too much information on you guys right now, but basically, we asked them this. So I guess like, what was the turning point that made you think I need to get advanced outside help with this now, instead of just doubling down on what you're doing and hoping it's going to work out? He's going to say, you know, a lot of people say we had a bad month or we've stagnated, whatever. Have you worked with anyone before? If they say no, we just move on to desired. If they say yes, it's like, cool, how did it go? Most of the time, they're going to be like, it was shit, right? So it's like, cool, what do you feel like was missing that prevented you from getting to the goal that we talked about earlier, $1 million a year? And now what this is going to do is going to give us leverage to pitch away from that. So if someone's like, they never checked in with me, I didn't like the way they had their ads, that's your opportunity to customize your pitch on the fly to sound different. Right? Now, I mean, we can talk about pitch maybe another day. There's only so much we can go into like on one call a week, but basically we're just trying to gain leverage to pitch away from the thing that was bad. Now, how long ago since they did that? Very important question, because if it was a few months ago and they're still looking for help, they're fucked. One thing I want you to think differently about this objection. The more someone has been burnt in the past, the better. If they've had 10 agencies that haven't worked and they're still on a sales call with you, they have a very big problem, right? So rather than thinking, oh, fuck, they've worked with someone I'm never going to close, just think, oh, okay, they've worked with lots of people and they're still talking to me. Because I guarantee you guys, if they could do it without your help, they would, but they can't. So just that mindset shift alone is going to allow you to handle the objections better. Now, this is the big question. What has prevented, I don't know why I wrote this in the third person. What has prevented you? Sorry. What has prevented you from doing something again? So let's say they worked with a marketing agency a year ago. Okay. This question kind of only really makes sense if it was more than 6 months previously. And they say something like, oh, you know, they all sound the same. I don't trust agencies, or I really had that bad experience. Now, this is where we can start to reframe their perspective. Okay. So now this is getting into the objection handling world. So objection handling burnt in the past, the most effective way of doing it is by saying something like, so we all make decisions based on our perspective, right? The problem is if we make decisions based on the perspective that we have right now and not the perspective that we want, we're always going to be where we are right now. We're never going to change. So this would be post-price, by the way, what I'm saying right now, but I'm just trying to give you the idea. So are you 100% happy with where your business is right now? They're going to say no. So do you want to allow that bad experience with the other agency to get in the way of your business and your life moving forward? And then we ask, why not? So basically, I'm just trying to give you the conceptual idea that if they had a bad experience and they let it stop them from potentially having a good one, they're always going to stay stuck. Okay. And we basically need to show them that that's stupid, because it is. right? It's like I've had plenty of bad girlfriends, but I've still got a girlfriend now. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like that mindset. So if they say this question, like, you know, I had a bad experience, I don't want to do it again, we can use this as an opportunity to be like, okay, interesting. I mean, like, I guess, you know, if you had that bad experience, are you just never going to work with a marketing agency again? They're going to say, well, no, we're just looking for the right one. So, yeah, I understand that. But would you let the experience with the other agency get in the way of your decision-making process if you found the right one? They're going to say no. So then as long as you pitch well, you already start to diminish the power of that objection in the discovery. Okay. That's like a lot of sales training in 1 second, in one fucking thing. But basically, like, that's like the idea behind it. And then we ask them, so getting advanced marketing. This is a badly worded question. So getting advanced marketing, what has made that a priority again? Just to lock in that sort of commitment to change making the decision. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
One question, is this meeting recorded?
Yeah, I'll post, they get posted somewhere, so I'll make sure you guys have the link, no worries.
Okay.
So yeah, these get recorded. All right, let's just go through this for another few minutes and then we will, because I think there's going to be more stuff that we can pull out from this. Okay.
I'm usually somewhere in the middle, and this last year, 2 years, we've been getting that more and more often that we're the high guy.
Okay, so recently people have been saying that your prices are a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when
Okay.
my competition gets hungry, they start giving stuff away.
And how does that market look right now, the competitive roofing market?
When I started in the business in 2014, there was 3,000 roofers in Illinois. Now it's over 7,000.
That is a lot. Yeah, it's a big increase.
Yeah, so all those same
Okay.
people are clamoring for the same amount of money.
Yeah,
And the ones that give it away aren't going to be around here in a couple of years. So
yeah, that makes sense. And how long have you been around in the roofing industry?
I've been in construction business for 43 years.
Nice. Okay, so when you want to having low quality leads, like if you were to just wave a magic wand.
All right, cool. So yeah, this is, sorry. I love Charlie, but the script's so shit. So, okay, cool. So we need to, basically we need to create consequence, right? So we go through trigger point. Now we get to desired, okay? And like a better way to do desired is like, cool. So I know we obviously talked about like, 1.5 mil. I guess like, why is that kind of important now though? They're going to say whatever. Now, this question, I would just give you guys like a bit of a warning. It's kind of a hard question to get right. So maybe for now you can just skip this one. Okay. Because sometimes it can give a bad answer unless you ask it really, really well. So maybe just, if you want to delete it off your script, that's fine. I'm just going to leave it here for my own stuff. But basically it's like, cool, why is that important now? They say whatever. They're going to say like, you know, just to grow, because they all say that shit. So cool. And I guess like for you, what do things look like, you know, then bringing in X? They're going to be like, I'm going to be able to hire. They always talk about the business, right? I'm going to be able to hire, whatever. So then we take what they say. It's like, cool. And I guess like with those new hires, how would I guess like your life be different compared to kind of what you're doing now? Now, the only answer they can give us is like, oh, I'm going to be able to have a bit more free time. Now I've got something. Cool. And I guess like what would that do for you, I guess, personally? And what we're really looking for here is more time with the family, whatever, free time, hobbies, travel, all that sort of shit. Right. But we need to, especially with these types, we need to like chunk it down. So we almost tackle like the business thing first, what they're looking for with that outcome. And then we take what they said, because you always have to remember, like, if anyone ever says to you, I just want to make more money, it's just such garbage. Like why though? You know what I mean? It's like, why do you want to make more money? And then they're going to say, oh, because I want to hire, or, you know, I just want the business to grow. It's like, okay, well, but what would you do with the growth? Like once you have that growth, what is your next business activity? Right? Then they're going to say, open a new location, all this sort of stuff. And so it's like, okay, so with all that stuff, how would things be different for you as they are right now? And then what would that do on a personal level? Yeah, Alessandro?
Sorry to interrupt. So
All good.
very fast. I find it that with realtors, they are very straight to the point. A lot of times they join the call and they say, yeah, you already know how the business works. I'm not here to answer questions. Just tell me what to do. I always try to, you know, push back, and almost always I get my answers from them. But in these questions, the more emotional ones, you know, when I try to ask on a personal level and all this, they really push back. They say, okay, look, where is this going? I'm just looking to see what you're trying to offer. I'm not here to tell you my life story, like you know.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is like sales is like dominoes. So if you accept shitty answers in problem and all that, and surface level answers, they're going to continue giving you surface level answers. So if someone gives me a shitty answer in problem, I'm going to challenge them straight away. Now that's a whole other thing, but you know, I'm gonna, like, let's just say someone's like, oh, you know, things are going well. I'm just sort of curious what you do. I'd be like, yeah, fair enough, man. I guess you know, why not just keep doing what you're doing then? You might not need my help. And then people would just go like, what the fuck? Right? And then they go, oh, you know, but like I could do with more leads. I'd be like, okay, but like, why aren't you getting enough leads right now? And then they say, oh, because we don't have a system. Cool. Now I've got problem, right? So it's like, if you accept shit answers earlier in the call, you're going to keep getting shit answers. That's the first part. Now, a lot of people want to push back on this. So yeah, there's a few ways of handling it. Like, I think the easiest way to kind of do it is just be like, yeah, look, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, dig into your personal life and things like that. But, you know, if we're going to go into a business relationship, I think it's more important for me to understand, like, not just what the money is, why you want to make, just not how much more money that you want to make, but actually why you want to make it. Because I'm a human, you're a human, and I'm going to work harder for you if I know these things. And that's true, right? Like, that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is by challenging them. So they're like, oh, you know, I don't want you to just like know everything, blah, 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 or I just want to make more money. It's like, yeah, I mean, we all want to make more money, right? But I guess at the end of the day, it's just a number on a piece of paper, right? You wouldn't want to make more money if you didn't have a reason to have that money, right? So like, I guess for you, you know, what is really that reason? Otherwise, why even bother doing this? So it's always just never accepting the junk answers that they give you and having like, not the balls, but kind of like the balls to challenge them, because really the sale starts when you challenge the prospect. Like, I promise you, no one is going to spend 600, 1,000, 10K, 12K, whatever Easy Grow is, unless if you accept surface level answers. You know, like, they need to actually respect you more than they need to like you. Now, you might in the beginning have a couple of people that hang up on you, but they were never going to buy anyway. And it's a better outcome if you lose a couple of calls that way, but you challenge a few people and you're going to close more deals doing it. Right? Because it's really, really true. There would be no reason to invest in a marketing agency and get more deals and have to do more work and push harder and have longer days. There'd be no fucking reason if there wasn't like an internal desire to do that. And you knowing that is important because it's going to help you close them, but it's more important because you actually work better for them at the end of the day. So those are like the two ways you can kind of handle that. And I think it just comes with just doing it with lots of confidence. If you've only done 8 sales calls, man, like I wouldn't expect you to like let this shit rip tomorrow, but I just want you to start thinking about that. And maybe on one call, someone says something, you challenge them and you realize that it's not really that big of a deal and it actually works well. And then over time, you'll just get better and better and better at it. Does that help?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, beautiful.
Thank you.
So, all good, man. Okay, cool. So in the Easy Grow script, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, this part here is sort of talking about like the level of commitment, commitment to change, right? No, it's not. It's not your fault, Oscar. It's I actually honestly don't understand how that script is still going around, which is so funny, but it's commitment to change. super important part of sales, commitment to change. How we should be doing it is with consequence. So what is the consequential outcome to this person if they don't do anything about this problem? So basically how we did it at Easy Grow, how I like to do it now, and how every sales trainer who's actually good does it. So I guess like with your current process you have in place right now of only relying on referrals, how close do you actually feel to achieving 1,500 a month and having more freedom, more security, more stability? It's really important that we get answers here, because if I said, let's just say I'm a marketing agency owner, right? And I'm making 5K and my goal is to get to 30K, but having to work only 2 hours a day. There's a very big difference between getting to 30K and working like 15 hours a day and 30K working 2 hours a day. There's a lot more complexity in that business. So if a closer asks me just this part, how close do you feel to achieving 30K? And I've got good lead flow and I'm closing lots of deals, I might say kind of close. But that's not the answer that we're looking for. But if I add on and only working 2 hours a day, as someone who's never hired before, never managed a team, never built a good system, I would be like, oh, I'm not even close. Because again, this doesn't matter. The money is bullshit. This is what matters. The underlying thing that the person wants. So ideally, oh yeah, I'm going to remove this. You guys, Farouk and Danny, just remove that question from your script, by the way. I've tried it. It didn't really work as well as I hoped it would, so it's fine. So ideally, they're going to say not close. Okay. So it's like, cool. So I guess like, what do things look like for you in the next 6 to 12 months if you don't make a change? We want them to say more of the same, blah, 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 blah. Is that something that you're willing to settle for? Why not? So now the time to do something about this. That's actually how you get commitment to change. Because if you ask a question like this, and I don't mean to rub it in, Oscar, but just to show everyone.
Okay, what's your level of commitment to actually making that happen?
Why we're talking.
Terrible answer.
Right.
Terrible answer. There's really nothing there for me to leverage later in the call. So, yeah, cool. If they truly believed that this thing was going to work, they would do it. If someone had 6K and they were like, oh, bro, I'm going to make 100K off this program, they would do it, right? And that's what you're selling them. But 90% of people don't do it. So we have to understand why that is the case. Now, look, it might sound like I'm repeating myself, but it's so important. So there's the only logical thing that could be stopping them if they like what you do, they think it's going to help, they see the value, they think it's going to get them to their goal, but they don't buy on the call. The only logical thing is fear. They have to be scared of something. So how we overcome fear is by giving them a different way of looking at that fear. Getting them to look at the fear as something that has held them back their entire life. And it will continue to hold them back unless they overcome it. The only difference between me and even Hamosi is that when times get hard, he is better at pushing through the hard times. Like that's like we like both went to private schools. We both finished university on like with good school. Like, you know what I mean? Like on paper, we have the same backgrounds, but he's a fucking millionaire and I'm not. That's because there was all these things that I let get in the way and he just like charged through, right? And everyone acts like this. Only every non-elite person, everyone that you're speaking to, they have these fears, and these fears always come from somewhere. So fear only comes from the past, right? So failures or other programs, family, trauma, like anything. Like these things will affect these people, even if they subconsciously don't really know that it's what's happening, right? Or they come from like the future. So basically the unknown, right? They don't know what's going to happen, or actually, going broke. They're afraid of this thing. Now, they can also come from themselves, which would be kind of like failures. These ones are kind of like tying together a little bit. But, you know, if they've, like a lot of the people that you're speaking to, they've never been able to get their business to work. That's why they're on the call. So they don't trust themselves. Right? Or you, which is more of a discovery and a pitch thing, right? But they don't think that you can get them the results. But we'll just focus on these three for now. So all we're trying to understand is, all we're trying to do is to get these people to see these things differently. Okay? And how we do this, right? So when someone says like, I just feel a little bit uncomfortable making this decision. Right? They feel a bit uncomfortable. It's like, okay, so what we need to do is we need to clarify. So what is making you feel uncomfortable? Then they're going to say, you know, I did other programs, or I'm not sure if this is going to work for me, or I don't want to go broke, or I've never been able to scale my business, right? And then we label. So we basically place that label onto them very clearly. So, okay, so you're just a bit hesitant about the fact you've never been able to scale your business, and that's affecting your decision. That's then from here, we actually use a reframe. So the reframe purpose is basically like, it's just taking this prospect's point of view, right? And giving them a different one. That's really all it is. There's so many ways that you can do that. So you've got that first reframe, you've got second, you've got the third. You can use those. You've also got analogies. So successful people versus non-successful people. You've got fat versus fit. So a fat person and a fit person, if you swapped their brains, the fit brain and the fat body, he would start acting like a fit person and he would start losing weight. Because we need to start thinking like the person we want to become, not the person that we are right now. So we need to use one of these reframes to just change their thought process and the way that they think. Then we ask a binary question. So, do you want to be this old version of you or the new version? That's the question basically. Do you want to be more like the person that lets this get in their way, or the person who overcomes this and gets to their goal? Then we basically ask them, what would it look like if they continued to think like this person? And then we place the identity of the new person on them. Right? So it's like, okay, so who do you want to become? They say successful. And when does it start? Because this is the thing. You don't just like wake up one day and become successful. Like I'm not a millionaire right now. But to become a millionaire, I need to start acting like a millionaire to become a millionaire. You need to start doing the things that a millionaire would do to eventually become a millionaire over time. Okay? And that is the framework. That is how you actually change someone's mind. Right? So a guarantee isn't just going to change their mind, right? Because that's just going to give them a potential safety net. But again, 90% of these people aren't taking the safety net. So we need to be able to change the mind of lots of people.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I mean, I think that I should honestly like practice it a bit more from my side. So like Yeah, I thought maybe for example, I go with Antonio like every morning and just like do the role play.
Mhm.
I think that will help a lot because like this, you can explain all this stuff and I understand,
Mhm.
but honestly, I just need to practice more.
Yeah,
So
we're gonna do that right now. So again, it's like it still hasn't been we still haven't gone a whole month together. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't expect you guys to be fucking a beast at this right now. But to be honest, what we're gonna do is we're just going to practice this. We're gonna spend 30 minutes, just me and you dinner, and we're just going to do lots of different versions of this. Okay?
yeah.
I'm gonna walk you through it step by step so it really gets into your head. Now, let's just stick with the successful person reframe for it for now. Okay? So we're gonna flip it around again. I will be the closer. I want you to be the prospect. I'm gonna do it, then you're gonna do it. Okay? So let's like what's most of the time when you get to sort of like money, like you get towards the end of the call, what's the thing that most people say why they don't want to do it?
Well, yeah, most of the time they just like I think yeah, just think they need to think about it like just a bit more time to let you know tomorrow.
Okay, so there's one other thing we need to understand. There's three sort of truths about sales. The first truth is that nothing you say will give them certainty, give them 100% certainty, unless they do it. So no amount of watching testimonials, doing research, nothing, not even the guarantee will give them certainty that your thing is going to work. Okay. The second one, and they need to be okay with that. That's the important part. The second one is no amount of time will make this decision easy. So when someone says, I just need more time, it is absolute bullshit because they can take 24 hours, they can take 48 hours, they can take 3 years. They still have to eventually pay the money. The conditions of the decision never change. So whether it's right on this call or tomorrow, they still have to overcome that payment and actually make that payment. And then the third one is what we just talked about. If they act the same, they will only ever get the same results. So if they keep doing things the way they're doing, so if someone says, I always make decisions like that, like this, it's like, yeah, that decision-making process, being scared and not acting on things is the reason that you are where you are right now. So we need to establish these three things and then just give them a different way of looking at them. So on the face of it, you're kind of ready to go ahead with this essentially. Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Awesome. So look, I know you mentioned that you had to jump, but if everything lines up, I can actually get you set up now and get you onboarded if you would like.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, everything looks really good. I'm 80, 90% of the way there. And I suppose I would just like some time to just kind of process everything we've gone through. We've gone through a lot of information.
Got you. Okay. No, of course, I understand we've gone through a lot of information. Watch how my tone's about to shift a little bit.
Okay.
But you kind of talked a little bit before about sort of being nervous, and the responsibility of like the next steps. Is that maybe kind of shaping, your feelings and decision making at the moment? Are you just feeling a little bit nervous about this?
Yeah, no, I am a bit nervous about going ahead and actually, executing on these things. And, that's on me. That's my responsibility. But yeah,
And
there
why
is,
why does I guess like why does having that responsibility make you feel nervous?
uh, just because it's a big change and I'm not really like the biggest fan of change.
Interesting. Do you mind if I just share like a perspective on that?
Sure.
I mean, like being not being the biggest fan of change, do you feel like that's maybe helped you achieve the goals that you've wanted, or maybe hurt you in the last few years?
It's definitely not helped. No, definitely doesn't help.
Right. No, and I can appreciate that. And I guess like, when we look at change and things like that, it's always a little bit uncomfortable, right? But I think when we look at, every person who's set up their own business and become successful and kind of done something different to 99% of the world, right? Because right now you work in corporate, which is the path that everyone follows. The only difference between the people that go out on their own and are successful and everyone else who just works in corporate and is miserable and unhappy is the ability to deal with the uncomfortableness of change and leaning into that feeling. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right. So I guess like for you, and it's not really about this decision, it's more about actually the feeling and overcoming that. So I guess for you at this point, kind of getting to the point where you don't want to keep doing what you're doing, do you want to be more like the people who lean into that uncomfortable feeling and overcome change, or maybe continue to let the fact you don't like change keep you in this 9 to 5?
No, I mean, if anything is gonna happen ever, I would have to lean into that. I
Right,
would agree. Yeah.
right. And I guess like if you don't lean into it, what would the next 6, 12, 24 months continue to look like for you?
Ugh, nothing changes. It's shit.
Right. So what do you want to happen over the next 6, 12, 24 months? Like who do you want to become in that period ideally?
I want to be someone who, like we were talking about, like is selling, these online courses and helping people because I'm
Right.
passionate about helping people.
Right. And I really respect that obviously, but I think when does that start? When do you become that person? Does it happen once you've already got to the point where you're making 10K a month and helping all these people? Or does it start before when you make that first decision to kind of commit and take the responsibility for that future?
I'd say it happens before. Yeah.
Right. So I guess, do you want to allow the hesitation around the future that's ultimately stopped you from having the future you want to continue to dictate your life moving forward?
No.
Okay, why not though? Because you have been.
Yeah, I suppose I'm very complacent.
Hmm. Do you want to keep being complacent?
I guess not.
Right. So what do you feel like the actions you kind of need to make to put yourself in the best position to get to your goal?
I've got to pay up.
I mean, you don't have to. You could keep working corporate, cushy job.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, no. No, I like if I want to do this, now is the time.
Okay, so should we just lock in the decision and get you started today so that we can guarantee that you have this success and actually commit to the change moving forward?
Okay, yeah.
Cool. So pause. Let's say they buy there. They might not buy there, right? And I might have to go if they're like, no, I just want to think about it. So okay, but so if we don't make the decision, what are we guaranteeing? We're guaranteeing that you'll never have what you want. So do you want to risk 24 hours and a feeling of uncomfortableness around making the decision on, potentially living with this level of uncomfortableness for the rest of your life? So you just keep going.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you say like you're afraid of pushing, I mean, to be honest, man, like you barely scratching the surface, in my opinion. And I'm just
Yeah.
asking questions, I'm just like, and these people, these yogis, they're going to be so fucking receptive to this stuff.